yeah. Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please say any negative.
What's good, everyone? Welcome back to the FPL show. This is by far the best FPL draft I'll be making for you guys. I really made some adjustment compared to my previous draft, my first draft. I realized the players I put in were not good enough for the set of points I'm looking for. As like I said, I'm doing my best to get the best team I can for my team, and I really think this draft is by far the strongest draft I've made, and I really think it's gonna give me the points I really want. And I think this is the strongest team, but I'm sure before the game week starts I'll come in with better players, but I think by far this is my strongest team. And my keeper, first off, Jose Sa. He was in my previous draft, and I think he'll still be in here. He's really a good keeper, and he'll give me the points I really want. Yeah, the saves, the clean sheets, and I can rely on this guy. And the first fixture they have is Leeds and away, and it's a good fixture considering Leeds signed a good players recently. But then if you just check the fixtures here, Leeds, Fulham, Spurs, that's a tough game, but then we have Newcastle afterwards, Bournemouth and Southampton, and I think the fixtures are kind of fair, besides game week 7 and 8 where we face off Liverpool and Manchester City. But outside of that, I think Sa can give me those points. But then we are getting a wild card around game week 7, 8 if I'm not mistaken, and if Jose Sa proves to be not giving me what I need, I could always switch him up with someone else, maybe Martinez. He has a lot of good fixtures coming up, but at the moment I think Sa is my pick, and I really trust him, and hopefully he can give me the points I really need. Next off on my defenders, we have Trent Alexander-Arnold first. I mean, Arnold is definitely staying in my squad. The points he gave me throughout the past 2 seasons, and he's really been a player in form. I really could not see him not being in my squad. I think he'll be in here, and all the other drafts I'll be making later on in the future. And I think Trent Alexander-Arnold is just a really good defender, probably the best defender, and he really gives those attacking areas and points. And Arnold is definitely staying in my squad. He's expensive, but he's worth it. Name me a midfielder around that price who could give me the points Arnold gives. I mean, nobody. And so I think Arnold is definitely in a stay. Next up, we have Cash. I removed Connor Cody from my draft. Like Cash, let me show you. I was checking out the fixtures out here, and I just think Bournemouth, Everton, Palace, West Ham, and after that, yes, they have tough fixtures, but then considering the first game, Bournemouth, like the points he could really give me, he attacks, and he maybe give me an assist or two, and maybe a goal. And afterwards they have Everton, Palace, West Ham, yes, a tough game, and Arsenal afterwards. But then I think Cash is definitely a guy I would need. I mean, 147 points, that's a lot of points, and Cash can really get me those points I really need, and I don't think he would leave anytime soon. Next up, we have Ryan Aid-Nouri. Now, Nouri is definitely staying. He was in my previous draft, and he could really attack. Now, seeing Marcel has already initially left the club, was released from the club, and Nouri will just have all that game to himself unless we buy a really better player or a backup. But outside of that, I think Ryan Aid-Nouri is definitely gonna stay in my squad. I don't see him leaving or going anywhere. Absolutely, I just think Ryan Aid-Nouri will perform. And yes, next up we have Cancelo. Cancelo was also in my previous draft. I don't think Cancelo will be leaving anytime soon. I mean, he attacks, you know, he is a really main key player in the Manchester City defense, and if I were not to have a player like him, I would just be missing out on points, you know, and I really don't want that, and I'm trying to build up, and I think Cancelo is a really good defender, and I don't think that will change anytime soon. So Cancelo is definitely staying, and I hope to see him get me points. Next up in my midfield, we have Mohamed Salah. Now, Salah was here in my previous draft. The mistake I've made in the past 2 seasons was not having him in my squad. Really, it cost me a lot of points, and I think I could have done better if I had Mohamed Salah in my team, but then I intended not to have him. It was expensive, and right now I'm working on the budget, and I think Salah will definitely stay, and hopefully it will give me those points, especially against Fulham. And I know Fulham got promoted, and they came in good spirit, like they really look strong, especially now they've signed Palina, and come on, Fulham could be tough, but then it's Salah could really destroy that defense, and really give me those points I really need. Now I did switch up here. I had to get Odegaard. I replaced him with Wilfred Zaha. Now Odegaard is a player that I definitely need in my team. They have Crystal Palace. I mean, let's just check his fixtures. It could really give me those points, and I think Odegaard is a player who initially attacks. He is probably the best midfielder Arsenal has, and they have Crystal Palace, they have Leicester, Bournemouth, Fulham, Aston Villa, they have Manchester United, but United could be tough, but then I'm not really phased by that fixture. But afterwards they still have Everton, Brentford. I mean, the fixtures are really standing out for this guy. He's the best midfielder in the Arsenal squad, and I think he could really attack and give me those points I need. Saka was a bit too expensive for me. Initially I would have gotten him, but then Odegaard is here, and he could fill up that void, and it takes free kicks. I would really like to see him, you know, banging those goals for me. Now I have Bruno Guimaraes, and he's really a player that I look forward to having. He had a huge impact in the Newcastle team since coming in, and he's been really terrific assisting and scoring, and is probably the best midfielder Newcastle has at the moment. And not having Bruno Guimaraes will really be losing on points, especially now that they are facing Nottingham Forest in the first game. I think Bruno Guimaraes is a player to have, but if you like other options, in my next video I'll be dropping on cheaper players you could probably get if you're trying to save up cash. But like I said, the next World Card is coming in soon. I would prefer you put in your strongest squad, you know, and get those points you need. And I think Guimaraes is definitely staying at the moment. And but then if he intends not to perform, I'll remove him. I had Rodri before him, and Rodri wouldn't get me those points I needed, although he's a really good CDM, but I'm looking for an attack as well, and Bruno could definitely perform that. Now we have Pedro Neto. Neto is a hooves attacker that you definitely have to have, especially now Raul Jimenez is still finding his foot, and Chiquinho out for 6 to 7 months injury, and Podence out there but initially gets injured, and Chan, and just seeing our hooves squad, and I really think Neto could definitely get those squad. He's the highest owned player for Wolverhampton Wanderers, and I think Pedro Neto will definitely make a huge impact in the Premier League this season, and could definitely bang a lot of amount of goals. And I really think Neto is cheap for 5.5 midfielder, and I really think he should have been more, maybe 6 to 6.5, but I can't complain. I mean, when you have a player like that, who you can save up and get a player like Salah or maybe Son. Really good, and I think Pedro Neto will be here for the longest of time. Next up, we have my two favorite strikers right here, Harry Kane and Erling Haaland. Now these two strikers are quite very expensive, and honestly Harry Kane will definitely get me those points I really need. He's been here, and now under Conte's wings, I really have no doubt. I really think Harry Kane could definitely be the best striker. Probably not, but will definitely be in the chase for the golden boot, and I think Harry Kane is definitely a player that I must have. They have Southampton, Spurs at home. I mean, that's a good fixture, and right away he's just my captain, and I really trust him a lot, and I think he could give me those points. And I know Erling Haaland just arrived in the Premier League. The Premier League is a really fast place, but then when we look at a team like Manchester City and Erling Haaland is just a beast on that pitch, and I really don't doubt Erling Haaland. I really think he could perform, and he could give me the best out of himself, and Erling Haaland is simply just too good for this, and I really think he could give me those points. But if he intends not to perform, I could definitely switch him up for Gabriel Jesus and add up that money and just get a player like Son or Diaz in that midfield and really get those points running. My bench is really not really good. We have Foster out there, and Taylor, and Andres, and Williams. Now Williams, I could potentially remove him, but he's just there in case he were to go on loan, maybe to Nottingham Forest or something like that. And Andreas is a player who I've heard talks he could really bring an impact into the Fulham squad. And Taylor is there as a cheap striker. And that's it for this video. That's by far the strongest FPL draft I've made, and I'll be sure to catch on the next video. See you guys soon. Adios.
Open up your eyes and insert a little rising. You don't have to love me, you don't have to like me. Got enough love in myself, in my psyche.